port. This is the CUH 2115B model, and the way we're going to open this, you can actually just pop the top panel off at any time. That's pretty easy. Comes up from the front, slide it back, and we go to put it back on. There's kind of a little ledge on the back that it goes over the power supply. We're also going to have to take a, oh, look at this. Okay, so this is obviously been worked on before. Hopefully you can see this. Let's come in a little closer. And interesting thing here, this is completely broken off. I don't know why, but it looks like the warranty stickers on the back where the screw is, or the warranty sticker, doesn't look to me like it's been removed before. So I'm not sure what the story is on this, but I would normally take that off first, but let's go ahead and get this panel out of the way. So we've got a couple screws here. I'm going to flip this around actually so it's easier to see. So we're going to have a couple Torx screws here, 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 here. This one's going to come out as well. And then normally that would have been held down by this screw, but I'm not sure what happened there. Go ahead and get this one first of all. And it's not going to really do a whole lot, but we'll get rid of this. That's not going to help. And you see this is a short one here on this side. This one in the center goes all the way through to the motherboard, so we need this to come out as well. And then we have one more here. And that is how we remove this. So not sure what happened there. Anyways. And these appear to be slightly stripped, so I think someone started on this and changed their mind. We'll just be careful when we remove these. And then we're going to have one here where the Wi-Fi antenna is held in place. So don't get these mixed up. And this will just kind of come off the edge like that, and then you can route the antenna wire through this little dude here. We're going to have a screw that's going in from the other side that holds the power supply in place. I think it's right around here. So we'll go ahead and flip this over. Let's go ahead and get this warranty screw off from the back right here. A little heat and rubbing alcohol will keep you from making a mess if you're concerned about that. And this will also be a Torx. Only one like it in the game. And then from here, also what I like about this, very easy to get the hard drive out. You just pull that over to the side. You've got one crosshair screw here. That's your PlayStation screw. Pull the tab. And out comes your hard drive. Alright, so from here, we can just kind of lift up on this end, usually, and that's going to slide back like that. And the screw, oh, I got some dust in here. The screw that we need to be concerned about will be this one here. So make sure you remember where this goes. Once we remove this, we can get the power supply out. So if you just kind of wiggle it, it usually comes up pretty easy. Don't forget, we need to route this out from there. And if you flip it over this way, there's a wire here that comes out pretty easy. Just grab a hold of all four and just gently kind of wiggle back and forth. And you should be able to unplug that, and power supply is removed. During the disassembly video, I meant to include this part. We do want to disconnect the rest of the Wi-Fi antenna here. So if you just go again underneath the metal part and lift straight up, you can pop this right off of the board like that and set it aside for later. And then we've got to route this all back together when we reassemble it. But this will make your life a little easier, and you're less likely to tear that in the process. And we're going to flip it back over. And I actually like to work from this direction because that's how I get my screws organized. We've got one antenna wire here. So carefully disconnect this from the metal part. Don't pull on the wire. You don't want stress between the metal piece and the wire because those come apart pretty easily. We'll route this through this plastic stuff here, adhesive. Not really critical, but I'll try not to destroy it in the process. Yeah. It always sticks to the places you don't want it to. Alright. You can actually stay on that wire if you want to. That's fine. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3 connectors that pull out. This one's going to flip up from the left hand side like so. You can slide it over, and then we've got our fan back here. Again, just very carefully make sure you don't put too much stress on the wires, but these come out pretty easy. Now you're going to want to make sure that you keep track of all of these screws. Notice there are black and silver screws, and I want to say that a couple of these silver screws are different sizes, so I recommend you just lay these out in the same order that you remove them. And to demonstrate what I'm talking about, we'll put this right here. Grab a smaller screwdriver and make this a lot faster than it would normally be. And we've got a couple black screws recessed way down in here, so do remember to remove these. As you can tell, there's some machine threads that are pretty long, relatively speaking. Two silver ones here. We're going to have, you see this kind of, have to pay attention here because got silver, then black, then silver again, or I'm sorry, silver, black, black, couple silver ones there. So it's important to make sure that you either lay these out the same way that you remove them or make some kind of mark. You know, you can take a black marker and just put a black mark next to each black screw if you need to, but you still need to keep track of the silver ones. As far as the rest of these black screws, I'm confident that I can remember where they go, so I'm just going to throw them into a pile in the center of the mat. Alright, so we've got all our screws out. Everything is unplugged. We are just going to lift this metal panel. And make sure you take note of these thermal pads. All 8 of them are on the board right now, so we want to make sure when we put this back together, these are all still here. And sometimes they're connected to this. These one came off on here, which means that while we do the the HDMI port, we got to make sure that we don't lose any of those in the process. The other tricky thing about this particular model is getting this unplugged. There are a few methods that you can use to hopefully make it a little easier. I'm not going to say it's easy. Ideally, we want to grab a hold of the plastic base here because this one's in pretty snug, so you don't want to grab the wires and just start yanking on those. This is, like I said, a tricky maneuver. If you look closely here, let's zoom in to this. If we look a little closer here, I don't think this will show up, unfortunately. But there are a couple notches on the side here. So if you wanted to, you could kind of go in here and just gently, it's either on the side or the top, you could kind of grab a hold of that with your screwdriver. But if you're careful, and you just very, very carefully grab a hold of this, don't squeeze too hard. If you do, you can have problems. And then just kind of push it away as you grip. Like I said, it's not easy. But you can either wiggle this like so, or you can kind of push on the base with your finger. Just take your time, little by little. Don't want to damage the connector or these wires that are plugged into it. All right, from here we've got these 2 screws on our holding this thing down. Let's zoom back out here. Alright, set this aside. Take this guy out. And then, as you can see, the motherboard is kind of wedged in on this side, so we're going to lift from over here. And we're going to just pull it back towards us. And we have one more antenna wire that I forgot to disconnect from the inside. Make sure that's unplugged. I'll have to add that in later since I missed it. Alright, so we've got the board removed. We will be replacing the thermal paste when we finish up here. One thing I want to point out is do take note of this little piece right here. If you turn this thing upside down, it's going to fall out. So this, if you happen to find it while you're working, it did fall out and it's needed in order for one of these screws to connect. So this little spot right here is where this guy goes, and I'll get a better shot of that so that you can see. Alright, so that's that. If it falls out and you find it, now you know where it came from. We are going to go ahead and clean off. I've got the big pieces of the old thermal paste off. Be careful around this, of course. You don't want to use any sharp or metal instruments near it, like soft plastic, or get some 99% alcohol, isopropyl, and just clean off all the old stuff. Do make sure that you've got these 3 thermal pads here, and when we get ready to put it together, we should have a total of 8 here. You can see one of them kind of slipped off, so we don't want to lose any of those. But for the time being, I'm going to focus on just getting these surfaces as clean as possible. And let's get some new Arctic silver. Alright, so we've got all our pads there. Let's start plugging this in and get it back together. Alright, here's the fun part. I love these antennas. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing here behind the camera. That's going to plug in. You want to make sure to get these straight, because it's possible to damage them otherwise. Make sure I get the bottom of this thing facing the right direction. I'll just pop right on there, route through this little plastic piece up across the top, like so. Let's zoom out. Alright, now we need our power supply. We're going to plug this in right over here. Flip it over, and this is the fun part. We need to keep this plugged in, come up through that little channel, get this installed, and then this kind of clips. It's really awkward, kind of hard to explain, but you've got to kind of clip this in under here, and you'll know it when you have it connected properly. It'll still flop around here, but you can see it's latched on the left hand side. And from here, I'll just go ahead and screw this in, and I'm not magnetized. Alright, so we'll hold it straight. Come on. And I'll replace the screw that I had to remove when I was chasing down that antenna wire over here. And now that we have the power supply installed, we can go ahead and put this screw back in. We are just about ready to get this all back together. I guess we're still grounded with one of these attached to something. This screw I don't think is going to do much, but put it back in. Alright, let's go ahead and get the lid back on. Make sure you put this on before the hard drive. Right, and we are ready to go.